Matthew Reilly, The Three Secret Cities. This is 436 pages and is a cross between Indiana Jones and Uncharted. So if you're into kind of a historical archaeological fiction, this is for you. So this is the fifth book in the Jack West Jr. series, and he's ex-military, now an archaeologist. So like I said, kind of Indiana Jones-ish, but he's always put in these wacky, over-the-top situations, and tries to save the world. And so that's where the Uncharted section kind of comes in. You know, the opening scene in Uncharted, you're hanging from a train that's off a cliff and trying to climb up. So, stuff like that. Just like impossible situations. Really, yeah, like almost like Mission Impossible. I don't know. Maybe that would be a more accurate crossover. But so the end of the previous book was the Great Games. We had the first three books was kind of a trilogy, and then the fourth book was kind of a divider, and then now this is the second trilogy, so 7 books in total. And this is the start of the countdown to this numeric. So the 4 legendary kingdoms, 5 greatest warriors. So now we're at the 3 secret cities, and at the end of the previous book, the Great Games were completed. Jack West won, but the prize was for one of the 4 of the Legendary Kingdom's kings, the sponsors, to sit in the on the throne and receive the ancient mysteries. So now, since nobody sat on the throne, the ancient mysteries weren't received, and we're back to the similar format of there's a world-ending event upcoming. Everybody has to find this hidden ancient knowledge that's been lost to time, and it's a race against time. There's some celestial deadline, and it's a pretty similar format. Like if you've read any of the previous books, it follows that format pretty closely. So Orlando is the king of land, and he was the sponsor for Jack in the games, but of course he was kidnapped and forced to compete against his will. So Orlando is the bad guy. Mendoza and Chol are kind of the allies, henchmen, whatever you want to call them. But together, they're seeking to visit the 3 secret cities, empower the 3 weapons, which are the Helmet of Hades, the Mace of Poseidon, and the Sword of Zeus. So, once those 3 weapons are empowered, then the descendant of the Oracle is supposed to be sacrificed at the altar of the cosmos using those 3 empowered weapons. And that will then let them get to the next stage. So, in addition to Orlando, there's another group called the Knights of the Golden Eight, and they are after Jack as well. So, yeah. Another third party also follows with the format, right? There's more than one group trying to accomplish the goal, and they visit the 3 secret cities of Atlas, Thule, and Ra. Ra being El Dorado, the mythical there. And the weapons are combined, and that does the task. I really liked that there is Hades' brother is the jailer, the royal jailer. There's this giant conspiracy that the royal kingdoms, run governments behind the scenes, and they are just like uber wealthy and just completely control the world. But so again, this is fiction, but I liked that their royal society had not only the jailer, when you break the rules or whatever, you get imprisoned, but also the mercenaries of the Knights of the Golden Eight. So just really neat, really interesting. I thought it was cool that Poseidon's, mace was kind of the most. I thought it was the coolest. Like the other 2 were all right, but the Helmet of Hades was already found. The other 2 weapons, I think Orlando had the sword, but they had to find the trident or the mace or whatever, and that was really cool. But yeah, so things I liked. I really liked Hades. He not necessarily had a change of heart, but became kind of a mentor for Jack. Jack needed the information that Hades had, and of course the helmet that Hades had, one of the three weapons that needed to be empowered. But really, like, there's this ancient knowledge, right? They're doing the research, but Hades is kind of that insider, that mentor. And even in the interviews at the back of the book, with the author, Matthew Reilly, even calls him Hades being Jack's dark mentor after Wizard, doesn't make it. So I really liked the Gray Stone. Um, big fan. In the previous books, they had these giant monuments, and it just seemed like almost too impossible. But here, it was kind of like a super cement that it was better described. I don't know. It made it feel more realistic. Whether it exists or not, I'm sure it's fiction, but it just made it seem like a little detail that made it more relatable. So that was really cool. I really liked the crossover. You've got the Scarecrow books, so Matthew Reilly has two or three different series, and in the Great Games, Jack competed against Scarecrow, and also there is Aloysius the Black Knight, who is a super Delta Force stealth pilot guy. Yeah, I don't know. Great crossover. I like that it's all just kind of coming together. These superheroes are coming together. Very cool. Not quite like DC Comics level, but like, I don't know. It's just fun reading the books and seeing their interactions. And then, oh man, I remember reading them from the other series. So very cool. Already talked about the Royal Jailer. The Royal Prison was super cool, like way underground. The Greystone and all that. And again, it's a similar format, which I enjoyed. It's easy to approach. They kind of do the research and travel the globe and all that stuff. So yeah, globe trotting adventure, lots of fun. Things I didn't like, I actually didn't like the Knights of the Golden Eight. I just felt like, I don't know. It was like, if it took I mean, this is book 5 of a 7-book series. Like, I feel like we would have at least run into them before, and I think Aloysius does. So there's a little bit there, but I don't know. I just feel like if they were that big of a deal, like we would have seen them or heard them before. But I think they kind of are the building block for the finale of the series. So we'll see more of them there. I also didn't like Poseidon's Tomb. I just feel like, if you have this, weapon that's needed to save the world, like the potential to accidentally encase it all in this Greystone seems like a big oversight. Like, I get this is, or I don't know, I don't want to spoil anything for future, but I think the goal is that to prove that humanity's worthy of being saved, all these trials. And, Poseidon's Tomb, it just seemed like, oh, whoops, I accidentally triggered this, and yep, we can't save the world because it's stuck in the stone. Like, but I don't know. So, yeah. Zeus's sword, the sword in the stone, they kind of make references. So it's kind of like a backstory or historical fiction around all these mythical items and places. So, globe spanning adventure, visiting lots of different places. I think there was Iceland, there was a place in South America. Sir Francis Drake is referenced, just lots of fun. And this is really the beginning of the end of the series. So if you've enjoyed Jack West Jr. books, I highly recommend it. And I'm really looking forward to finishing the series. So as always, remember to buy your books used or digital.